Hello, everybody, and welcome. Long time and no Feature Fridays. Well, I'm happy to announce we are back, at least for this one-off event. Hello to everybody. My name is Garrett. I'm part of the customer experience team here at Uplifter, and joining me today, as always, is the one and only Jackie Kwan. Hi, Jackie. How are you?
I'm doing well, Garrett. It's been so long. I've missed you.
I missed you too. And you know what? I was like, I have no idea what any of these buttons do anymore. I've just
You
purged all of this information from my brain, and now I'm like,
what's really funny is when you started the stream, it 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 changes. It's different now, and it actually popped up and said, "This session is being live streamed," and it gave me two options. It either said "Got it" or "Leave meeting," and I was really tempted to just
just leave me. Jackie, are you there?
see, Garrett, you're on your own.
That's awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Feature Friday. Garrett, do you want to tell everybody what we're talking about, or is this just all on me?
It's just all on you, lady.
Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, we are talking about policies today. Now, you probably know about policies and how they function and stuff like that, but very recently we have released a very large update to the policies system that included a lot of new features and a lot of new functions and tools that you can use to your advantage. There are a ton of really cool things, and we might even miss some stuff. That's just how much stuff we jam-packed into this. So Jackie, I'll let you take it away, and I might jump in if I think of something.
Thanks. So please think of something.
Yes, please.
So as Garrett mentioned, one of the reasons why we haven't had a Feature Friday in a very long time is we have been very busy, but mostly because this feature has been quite all-encompassing. It's taken quite a bit of time with all of our team. We really want to do another iteration on policies because of how all the clubs were using policies due to the different elements that and challenges that have arisen because of COVID, and we just wanted to make sure that clubs and organizations using Uplifter have a robust policies manager and online waiver management system that they could use Uplifter for. So it's been quite a few months of development as well. We were reluctant to release too many new features during the really busy fall season, and while all of our customers were actually coming and getting back up and running out of their COVID slumber. So we're hoping that people are seeing a bit of a rebound in terms of their activity, and we're happy to see everybody moving along. So we've been a little bit hesitant to do too many changes with the system to make sure that everybody is able to go about their business and get back up and running as required coming out of their COVID lockdowns. So without further ado, let's talk about policies. So this week, we released a number of new features with policies. We've tried to make it in the background so that there weren't a lot of changes so that people could continue to go about their business. But let's talk about what those changes are. So I'm here logged into my Townsville Gymnastics Club site. And I've just hopped over to my administration site, and I'm under settings and policies. So everything is still in the same place as you normally would have expected it to be. But there's a few subtle changes that you might have noticed right when coming onto this page. So the first thing that you might notice is we've added a new feature that allows you to copy a policy. We've also
I know a lot of people that are happy about that.
Has anybody said yay? Or did
yes. Well, me. Yeah, that's enough. Just put myself in a little echo chamber. Yay.
There you go. We've also added a couple of additional filters. One here specifically for policy status, which you'll note that you can now actually set a policy to be unavailable. So that way, if you're working on a policy, you're not quite ready to have people use it, you can set it to unavailable so it isn't presented to your members. Or if you have a policy and you just want to just shut it down for a little bit, but you might want to bring it back on later on after you've made some changes, you can certainly change the policy status so that you can work with the policy as you move forward with editing those policies. But let's take a dive into what the changes are. So first of all, I'm going to go into one of our baton deposit policy and show you some of the basic new features that we've added. So right off the top, the one thing that we've added to our policies is you can now actually specify a policy type. In general, it will just default to policy, which is what we've always had in Uplifter. But let's say you want to be a little bit more specific about what it is that you're asking your members to actually agree to. Is it a waiver? Is it an acknowledgement? Is it a release form? Is it an actual agreement. So you can now specify whatever policy types you'd like. So let's say I'm going to call this a release instead of a policy, because that's the wording that we want to use at our organization. Uplifter will then ask you to define a plural version of what this is, so that when we create headers, it will group all of your policies by policy type. So you can create them to be whatever you like, and you can select them as you need and switch them around. So what Uplifter will do is when they present the policies to your members, it'll actually group them in these policy type elements. So as mentioned, you can also set your policy status to unavailable if you want to just hide a policy for a short time because you need to do a bit of work on it, or you just don't want it presented to your members for a short time. The rest of the options at the top here are pretty much the same. We've added another option here. This is available on our Gold and Enterprise tiers. This allows you to actually store a copy of accepted policies. So let me just explain this. I'll try and do this quickly. One of the features that we released in this update is you can now download PDF versions of the policies. We have always made sure that we've always maintained the policy wording whenever somebody agreed upon when the person agreed upon it or agreed to that policy. So the wording that was presented at the time of presentation during an invoice registration process or login or creation, that wording has always been maintained. But if for some reason you just need a little bit more due diligence and you actually want to be able to give your members the ability to download a copy of those policies, or administrators to download a copy of those policies, you can now download a PDF version. And for Gold and Enterprise level members, organizations, you can now store a copy of that accepted policy. Now, you may be asking, why is that important? Because you'll always be able to download a PDF copy. This might be important because if you happen to make subtle changes to your site, such as you've changed your theme and your font is now different, and you want to make sure that the exact presentation of that policy maintains itself, even though you've made some subtle design changes to your site that would have affected how that lays out, you can just click this off and it'll just store a the PDF copy that was generated the first time that it was actually presented to the members. So some people might need that, some people might not, and you might only need this for certain policies. I would suggest that policies that might be important would be policies or releases or waivers that are related to your federations that you're associated to, maybe a COVID policy where you just need a little bit additional due diligence for insurance or legal purposes. The rest of these elements down here are still the same, but the one thing that you might notice that's a little bit different is you'll notice a new button here on the bottom. And again, this is for our Gold and Enterprise level enterprise tiers, add policy section. So now you're going to be able to create a policy and really customize it to be the way that you need. Here you'll also notice that I've checked off this request digital signature. And what we're doing is we're also providing you with a little bit of a preview of what that's going to kind of look like when you create a policy. So I'm going to cancel out of this one and show you one that's a little bit more complicated because this policy section element that we've generated is very robust. But I just want to show you one that's already made because of the complication of complexity of what you can do with policy. What you can now do with the policy is you can actually create it so that you can customize it based on the age of the participant and possibly the age of the member for your participant policies, so that you can really make sure that you're creating a more bindable legal agreement that would withstand possible legal scrutiny. So what you can do is you can create a number of sections. And each section, you can actually specify who will actually see that section. So here I've created this section that will only be presented to if the participant that's attached to the policy is over 18 years old. And in this case, it says I, and you'll notice here we have our tag here called participant name. Now you may recognize this from, if you're using our email manager, we have these elements called replacement tags. Well, now you can use these same replacement tags in policies, and you will be able to access these very quickly through this little menu item that says insert field. And you'll see a series of fields that you can actually insert into your policies. So you can really customize this policy to be more of a legal agreement that's more specific to the person that's actually agreeing to this policy. So in this policy here, I've actually added participant names so that when the person actually sees this, this section will be replaced with a field that they could enter their name into. As well, you'll notice in this field, there's a number of other elements that you can actually insert into your policy, such as, for example, any of the custom fields that you've created for your participants or for a particular invoice, if this is an invoice policy, current date and time for when they actually agree to the policy. You can also now add your own signature, initial, and checkbox fields that are either not required or required, and just embed them directly into the policy. So previously, before, where we would just sort of put everything at the end for you, and lay it out the way that Uplifter would like to lay it out, you can now customize your policy. So if you want to actually put a signature line or an initial box, closer to the top of the policy, so that you can ensure that the member has actually read through the policy and is acknowledging various sections of the policy to ensure that they're actually reading all elements of it, you can now embed those directly into the policies. So you'll see here, I've added an initial, and you can now highlight how those input boxes or check boxes or signature boxes will be presented to the members, so that it just brings things out for you, so that you as a club have more customization control over how these policies are actually displayed. So you'll notice here that I've actually created two sections. This first section is going to be shown to participants that are over 18, but in the case where they're under 18, they'll see this version where the parent will be required to actually fill that out instead. So you'll see that I've added a series of different sections that will present themselves depending on the age of the participant or the member that is accepting the policy. So one word of note, if you're actually making elements that are specific to a member's age, member is not always a required field. So just make sure that when you're setting up your policy that members know that they'll have to add their birth date if you decide to add elements that are specific to a member's age. So here I've created all of these different elements, and it might be hard to read because you see this part that's repeated, and there's a participant signature here and a parent signature here. You'll also see the automatic box that we add because I've selected this to be an email transferable policy. Did I say that correctly? Does that make any sense at all?
Those were words. Yeah, those were words.
Were those words? Okay.
You did it.
But as I did this, I'm not sure what this is going to look like. So what we've actually done is we've provided administrators with the ability to preview a policy as you're building it. So if you click the preview button, you'll now see what this policy looks like. And what you can also do is toggle the ages of your participant and your member or parent that would be viewing this policy. So let's say I've got a 12-year-old and the parent is let's say reasonably 35. This is what the policy would look like. It would say, I, John Doe, being the legal parent, legal guardian of Jane Doe, yada, yada, yada. You can see what the initial box looks like.
That's legally binding, is it?
Yada, 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 yada. Yeah, I put that in. Yeah, my lawyer said I can totally use that. As well, because these are text boxes, they'll be auto-filled with the values that we have already stored in Uplifter for either the member or the parent, but they can certainly come in here and change these. Maybe it's Jonathan Doe, and fill this out as they need. And when they do accept it, all of these elements are saved into the policy so that when the PDF is generated, it will save with these fields stored as it is that they actually agreed to or filled them out at the time of acceptance. So the other things that you might also notice is that, and just as a side note, if you actually want to see what the PDF looks like, there's a very quick preview only download PDF button. So if you want to just make sure that everything lays out nicely in an 8.5 by 11 sheet, when it's being printed, you'll probably want to download a preview copy so that you can see how you laid out your policy and what it looks like. And additionally, what you'll also notice is we've added the ability to actually select a different font. So in the signature boxes, you can actually specify the members can actually specify the different font that they might use in order to accept a policy. So this gives a little bit of personalization and customization, and basically enforces the idea of intent when somebody actually accepts a policy. Now, you as a club administrator, you don't have to use all these features, but if your legal counsel or your federation or your association that you're attached to is looking for a little bit more culpability in terms of these digital policies, we've basically given you all of these tools to provide you to make these policies a little bit more bindable, as it were. So now that you've seen how it previews, you save your policy, updated, all of those other policy elements that we've had before will work exactly the same way. So none of that changes. We do advise, if you're going to use these policy sections where you've got some sections that display based on the participant's age, make sure you test, make sure you preview, make sure you download a PDF copy to make sure that everything appears the way that you'd like. And we've given you all those tools so that you can really certainly dive into that. Yeah.
Hey, Jackie.
Right.
Hey,
do you
hey,
have a
hey,
question?
hey,
Do you have a question?
Yeah, so we have these participant age sections, but how did you specify the participant age?
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This would be here. So underneath each section, as you're editing it, you'll see a little gear icon or a settings icon that says configure section visibility. So if you've specified an age of majority on a policy, it will automatically give you those as a generic option. But if you really want to customize it to a greater degree, you can certainly check these off and specify the parent age or the participant age that you would like these elements to display on. So for example, in this case, in this policy, what I've done is I've added this one section that I want to display if a parent is at least 18 years of age, to allow them to ensure or acknowledge that they are at least the correct age to agree to a policy. So yeah, that's how you would configure those elements. So do you want to see how it works on the front end?
Do
Should I show them that? Do you, Garrett?
I'm pretty tired. I'm gonna go.
Your enthusiasm is like
it's faded so quick.
It's worrisome. I'll feed you more cookies. Hold on, let me go get a box. So on the front end, let's see how this all fits together. So I'm going to go to my registration page. I am logged in as my Alan Smithy, as it were. Let's go find a couple of agreements here, or a couple of programs that I'm going to register for. So I'm going to register for kids tumbling. I think Annie, I hope Annie's the right age. Is she old enough? Perfect, she is. And I'm going to go find another one here. I think men's recreational, maybe? I think Richard. Let's see. Oh, not Angela. Richard. So I've got two programs that I've added to my cart. The reason why I added these two is because Annie is under 18 and Richard is over 18. So I just wanted to show you what this is going to look like. So checkout is still the same. All of that hasn't changed. We've made a few small enhancements with how the policies are presented, but you'll see now, because I've created these as waivers, they will appear as waivers. These ones are policies, so they'll just group them as you've defined them on your policy manager. But let's take a look at this policy. So this policy is for Annie Smith. And Annie, I know, is not 18. And because Annie is not 18, I'll take a look at this. When I see this policy, I'll see my name as the parent, I, Alan Smithy, being the parent, and I can put in my initials here, and I can acknowledge these elements. And I forgot to make my signatures required. I should have made my signatures required. I apologize. And I can go ahead and accept that. So I can do that. But you'll see here with Richard's policy, Richard is, I think, over 20. Because Richard is older, it changes the policy wording to actually be Richard, the participant. And because I'm not Richard, and I really wasn't Alan, but we won't mention that, I can now.
It's so confusing. I can't keep track.
Who am I? Who am I? I'm having this crisis of identity. I can obviously email this to Richard and have him accept the policy on his own. Now, if this is a required policy, I won't be allowed to actually proceed with my checkout until he has actually agreed and accepted everything as needed. So you can certainly send this to Richard and have him accept the policy. And then once he has accepted, you'll be able to proceed with your checkout. So as mentioned, you'll be able to change your signature font if you want to. And customize that. And once you've actually gone through the checkout, as mentioned, you'll be able to download a copy of that policy as a PDF. And the other setting that we've also added in corollary to that is as an administrator, if you actually go in, and let me see if I can show you this, if you would like those policies to actually be embedded in the registration email, you can go to, I think it's settings, global settings. I sure hope it's here. I forgot to bring this page up. Is it here?
Notifications and messages.
Yes. Yeah. So under notifications and messages, if you go down to invoice messages, you can also have the ability, again, this is on, I think this is only on our, is this on our all tiers? I can't remember if this is just on our golden enterprise.
It's too new.
It's too new. Too many features, too many tiers.
Yes.
I think this is golden enterprise. You can have the option to embed the policies into the email receipts when they get sent out. So that makes it nice and easy so that everybody actually has access up to all of those policies, but you can certainly enable that here. And that is that. Was there anything else that you wanted to sort of overview real quickly, Garrett?
Yeah, if we go back to the public side, if we could, please. One item of note is we've also updated the close button to now be reject down at the bottom right-hand corner. So when they are actually rejecting it, it's a lot clearer now for them. Additionally, in the center there, based off of policies that have customizable content like signatures and custom fields and things like that, you'll now have an option of save and close, which saves their progress and closes the window, but doesn't accept or reject, which means that users can, take a minute to go find information or whatever without losing all their data. And then last but not least, of course, is the accept button.
Excellent. Thank you for mentioning that. I was going to mention that. I thought I was running out of time. So I thought I should skip over that.
We are running out of time, please.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so I'll stop bantering. So that is our new policies feature, and we're hoping that clubs will have, the ability to take advantage of that. Also of note, I did mean to show this. I'm sorry. One last thing, because you're able to embed checkboxes and other elements within your policy, this might be a good option for organizations that would like to actually use this as their COVID screening. So you can actually set it up so there's actually checkboxes inside. Now on the preview, all of these are auto-checked, but they clearly won't be when it's presented to the member. But you can actually add checkboxes directly within the body of the policy so that if you're setting up a COVID screening, people would fill in those checkboxes as required and then sign at the bottom before they're able to accept. So that might be a little bit clearer for your COVID policies as well. So lots of different options there. So that's it. That's all that I want to actually present today, because I think that's a lot of information to get through. We'll be making some additional feature enhancements to policies too over the next little while, but this certainly should give clubs a way to really customize policies in a way that I don't think any other software that does online registration allows you to really do to this level.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
They got to up their game. Yeah. As always, a big thank you to you, Jackie. Appreciate you taking the time to show us everything. If you have questions or concerns about the feature set that you saw here today, or really anything else, Uplifter, support at uplifterinc.com. You are always more than welcome to reach out to us. We also have our Learning Center. The policy article is now up to date and accurate for all the information you just saw today. And of course, last but not least, thank you very much, Jackie. We have our refer and save plan. So if you do have a friend, family, coworker, other club, whatever, that you think would benefit from Uplifter, share the love, use the refer and save. You save $10 off, they save $10 off. It's a win-win for everybody. Once again, thank you so much for your time today, everybody. And we hope you have a lovely holiday season.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Have a great holiday, and we will see everyone in the new year. Take care.